Hello, I'm Marc Sumner, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and this is a special series during this COVID crisis where we'll be sharing the learnings, best practices, and failures and successes of all the channel leaders throughout the tech industry. So sit back, listen, and enjoy. Hello, I'm Marc Sumner, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have the pleasure in the virtual studio of Lorrin White, MD of Bamboo Technology Group. How are we doing, Lorrin?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Mark. Thank you for having me today.
No, pleasure. Thanks for coming on. So first of all, Lorrin, obviously, as we move into June and hopefully easing out of lockdown, I was wondering what you are doing in terms of actually supporting your staff from a wellbeing point of view. And what I mean by that is, you know, we had lots of guests on the show in April and May telling me about virtual pubs and virtual quizzes, and we were trying to do all these wellbeing, etc., etc. But we are moving out of easing out of lockdown now, and I'm also seeing that people, quite frankly, are a bit bored of doing these virtual pubs and virtual meetings. So from Bamboo Technology point of view, what are you doing for sort of like making sure morale on your own company staff and well-being sort of kept up?
I suppose we're probably doing the same that we have been doing for the last few months. So our communication levels have been pretty high anyway. So we were doing weekly updates, but they weren't always online team meetings. You know, we've got 60 staff, so that doesn't always work anyway. So there's the odd kind of video recording thrown in, which I did, which is obviously, you know, you sit talking to yourself for 10 minutes and look at a screen and try and keep it going with a bit of energy. Not particularly easy to do, but you know, we did a little bit of that. We've done a few engagement surveys in the process as well, so we kind of know how our staff are feeling anyway, and they're quite open. So when we have our kind of weekly Q&As, which we are going to keep doing online, because actually I think we've got far better engagement from the wider team doing it that way, and also we've made it optional. So I think, in the past where you've kind of had company meetings, it's been we'll do it once a quarter. Everybody's got to turn up to the office. Everybody's got to listen for half an hour, even though you know that they can't do longer than 7 minutes. So this way it works. It's kind of, you jump online if you want, we'll record it, you ask the questions, we'll answer anything you want. And if you can't make it, then you get the recording anyway. So I think we're going to carry on with that.
Yeah. I think that's good.
But we're probably taking a slightly different approach to a lot of other businesses, in that we are actually staying closed. So we're not returning to the office full time. Part of that is because we're actually moving office. So just before lockdown, we'd actually signed up to go into larger offices, which for many people at the moment, they might be, what on earth would you be doing that for? I mean, everybody's rationalising going the other way. That doesn't make any sense. But for us, it does. And it gives us more room. It gives us flexibility to set up different spaces that the team actually wants to go and be in, rather than it being completely all office-based, work-focused. We're kind of trying to bring in the social balance into the office. So, you know, we're not Amazon, we're not Google, so we're not going to have massive funky offices, but we just asked everybody, what is it that you actually would like in the office when we go in there? So we're kind of ticking the box on all of that, but we decided not to actually go in until September. So we've extended the kind of lockdown and said, you know what, we've been super efficient whilst this has gone on. Some of us have worked better than we've ever done before. So we'll carry it on for a bit longer. And you know what, when we do go back into the office, you've all got a couple of months working from home entitlement to take whenever you like. So for those parents, they can kind of, you know, take all the school holidays if they want to. As long as you're working, as long as you do your job, we're happy. So we'll continue probably with our engagement surveys. We have adopted the kind of health check piece as well, which we haven't done in the past, because you kind of, I think as execs, you worry that you're treading on people's kind of personal information just a little bit too far. But I think all of this has kind of given us that opportunity to, you know what, it's all right to ask the question, are you okay?
Yeah.
Have you been ill recently? Is everybody all right at home? Because you know what, if they're not, it's all right. We can have a conversation about it. Everybody can work from home now if they want to. So I think it's really just about asking the team what they want and working with them in the way that they want to work.
Do you think, and on that point, do you think the lines of work and home now And obviously work and home are the same place at the moment, but do you think that the lines of work and home and work relationships and personal relationships have got even a bit more blurred now? And it's good that they've come close together, because you mentioned there saying, are you struggling at home? Are you isolated? You might have to look after your mother, or you've got children, etc., etc. People are knowing much more about people's personal situations than they ever had before. So do you think that's a good thing?
I think it's dependent on the individual. I think if you're somebody that likes to share and you want everybody to know all of your personal stuff, then it's absolutely fine. But for those who don't, I think the fact is that we've got to a point where actually there's a choice, rather than, as you say, it being so completely exclusive of each other. As employers, I think we probably do need to take a little bit of a different approach. So we probably have, we've moved on. I think 4 months ago, would I have dreamt of saying to somebody, how many kids have you got at home? Are you actually going to be able to work from home on Friday if I let you?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done it, because I felt like I was kind of overstepping a real dodgy HR marker.
Yeah.
But now, I want to know. And actually, if I can't engage with you on a face-to-face basis 5 days a week, then I would actually like to know when I see you, I don't know, whatever it might be, once every 3 weeks, once every 4 weeks, what are the questions that I should be asking you? Well, how do I actually show as an employer that I care about you? Well, the best way is to know a little bit more about you and what matters to you. So, but in the home environment, I think it's those blurred lines of work and home are much more challenging. I think as employers, it's a good place to be, but I think as a worker at home, I think that's probably presented some real challenges for people. I mean, I've kind of worked on and off from home for a good few years, but it's still been, quite closed in sometimes, where don't have the freedom to have the conversations that you might have at work without your partner or your kids in the background, not necessarily listening, but being aware of what you're talking about. So your whole, your demeanour or how you might talk normally in a professional capacity has probably changed a little bit. It certainly has for me.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. I think I don't know about you, Lorrin, but everyone's been a bit kinder. Like they're a bit more sick. They're almost, if when I'd go to meetings before, if I was like, I don't like tardiness, but if I was late, I might be frowned upon, or someone's like, oh, you're wasting my time. It's someone's like, now, if if I'm logging on and I've got a problem with trying to get on Teams meetings, people are just a bit more flexible, and I think that's only a good thing. Business should be about trust and collaboration, and no one's on purposely trying to upset someone. And then if before the business world was quite challenging, you could upset someone quite easily. And I think if anything's come out of this COVID, it's like people are being a bit kinder. I think that's a good thing. So that's really been really good. One topic that you mentioned there about the office, and I'm really interested to get your views on this. I'm hearing a lot of channel partners and my office as well are going back in July to the office, and I'm a massive fan of going back in the office. There's companies that aren't going back till September, October, like yourself, and also maybe a hybrid of the two. You've touched on it at a point now. You've mentioned that you're going to get a new office. Can you give me an idea of what that new office will look like? Because what I am seeing is almost like people are sort of like saying, I'm not saying there won't be desks, etc., but they want to be more like, yes, areas of work and hot desking, but also more communal areas and people where people collaborate. So can you tell me what Bamboo are doing in terms of actually, and the feedback you've got from the survey in terms of what you're doing for the office?
Definitely I can, yes. Although I've got to be slightly careful just in case the team are listening, because we have said that we're not, we're having a big reveal when we do it. So I'll be a little bit careful. But they, as I said, we kind of tick the boxes on a lot of the things that they asked for. But you're right, a lot of it is much more, it's about the collaborative working space. It's about blending social with work in the work environment. So the kitchen area is, it's been the core focus of the fit out randomly. But that's where at home everybody gathers. That's where you find out the most about people. That's where you engage with the people who are around you. So that for us that's a real big change for us, and that's actually taken up quite a good bit of the office space. Whereas for the last 15 years we've been working in an office that's got the tiniest kitchen ever. So that's very different. Tech rooms. So rooms that you can go in that have got walls that are obviously covered in, well, not blackboard. I won't tell you exactly what it is, but you can imagine if it's not blackboard, it'll be something along those lines. But where actually groups of people can go in. and actually just draw all over the place and get their ideas out. But also seating areas. So we've been asked for, will there be quiet areas where we can go where there's no tech?
Yeah.
Yes, there will definitely be quiet areas, because I think a lot of the team forget sometimes that those of us who make the decisions also want the same things that they do. I think they think that we're quite often very focused on, well, if you're part of the senior management team, it's all about work, 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 and you want to be sat in front of the screen on the phone meetings, but actually we all need that breakout space as well. And I think that's the real shift, is that there's a full recognition by the whole of our exec board that this environment will be very different to the one that we've been working in for the last 15 years.
Yeah, and it's a real interesting point, Lorrin, because I'm seeing, and I'm speaking to lots of channel companies now, and I'm almost sort of saying to half of them, well, we're almost in two camps. Half of them are sort of saying to me, oh yeah, we want to get people back, and it's still going to be banks of desks and all this sort of stuff. And I'm with you. I'm on the latter. I'm actually thinking that the office needs to be reinvented, because I love the office.
Yeah.
But probably, and if I'm really candid, I'm missing the office because of the people and the banter and the social rather than work. I can probably do more work at home, but the social aspect of actually integrating and collaborating and having ideas is actually making me not want to work when I'm on my own, and it's a real dilemma. So I'm actually with you. I'm actually thinking, even in my own company, that we've got banks of desks. I think that'll be a thing of the past. Do you think throughout the channel that potentially everyone will be looking at their office and thinking, do you know what, I need to reinvent it as not called the office, but like a social interaction meeting point place, rather than just actually here's 15 desks in a row, we've all got to be on there with stats on the board?
Yeah, I think there will be a little bit of that. I think people have recognised that actually it's a case of making it somewhere where people want to go, not somewhere where people have to go.
Yeah,
I think that's a real shift. And you're right, we've all worked from home for a bit, and we've missed that social interaction with our teams. And I remember this, we did one Friday afternoon call. Oh, in fact, no, it wasn't a Friday afternoon call. We did a ping pong session. So the last couple of months we've done the video ping pong, and I kicked it off. And it was a Monday morning, and I recorded myself, and to my shame, everybody else has been hugely more creative than I was. But I actually did start with, this morning I've woken up and I am missing everybody. Yeah. And I'm really feeling it. And you don't think that when you're in the, Monday to Friday, 9 to, I was going to say 5:30, but it's never been that. So you kind of don't recognise it when you're in it, but when you're away from it, yes, you do know it. And I think there's two things that have been going on. There's that side of it, but there's also stuff that's been in the press recently, I suppose, about people who have not been furloughed and who are working from home and are like, okay, well, it's great. And to start with, it was a struggle, but now I've got used to it. So now it's really cool. I quite like it. I'm really efficient. So for us as employers, we now have to make the work environment somewhere where they want to go.
Do you know what, Laura? I'm really glad you said that, because I'm preaching that a lot in the channel. I'm thinking, agile IT, work from anywhere, et cetera, et cetera. But if no one wants to come to the office to work, if it's a big chore, and if it's an environment where no one wants to be, and they're going to be micromanaged, inspired, and they're going to have to put up their boss on their back, no one's going to want to come to the office. They're going to want to hide at home anyway. So that it's not going to do it. And I'm seeing that a lot. I'm seeing companies thinking, actually, well, when we force them back to the office, we didn't trust them working from home. We could force them to keep an eye on them, but they weren't working at the office anyway. They were just, that when you weren't, they were going to do it, or they're going to walk off by the water cooler just because you can't see them, etc. It's no different. And I'm hoping that most channel firms will actually see that and start, looking at their actual office environment and thinking, yeah, do you know what? I will make it a place to stay. One question I did want to ask you, and it is a bit of a left field one, because it's again, I'm hearing it in the channel. Do you think home working, it's a real left field question, Lorrin, do you think home working has been affected by the weather? And what I mean by that is, last week, people are actually, I can see them literally down about working from home because it's dark outside, etc. Whereas this week, every time I have a conversation with someone, it's going to be glorious this week, Mark. I don't mind working from home. I can work in my garden, etc. So is the great British weather going to affect people whether they want to work at home or not, Lorrin?
Do you know, I can answer it, and it's not that left field a question, because it definitely affects people, which is why I made the choice 2.5 years ago to split my time between the UK and somewhere else, which is why it's quite bright behind me, because the sun shines here most of the time. So yeah, definitely it has an impact for sure. And I see it, I see it with the teams that, you wake up in the morning, you open the curtains and you see a grey sky. Yeah, it's harder to go and sit at the same desk or the same table you might even eat at in the evening and actually work. And but the blue sky, we all know that. That's why we go on holiday. Because actually the time that you want to relax, the time that you want to enjoy and smile, you're looking for blue sky, or you're looking for, ski slopes, but you're still looking for the blue sky. I don't think there's many, there might be, the majority of people will go to seek that as a treat. Yeah. So when you're working from home, you kind of need it as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of actually returning to the office, there's going to be people who are working from home who haven't got the environment, they've not had the Wi-Fi or maybe the social interaction, they've been isolated or whatever. So they've got a necessity really to get back to the office, because that's where they maybe their social life, or they've actually got more space, etc. What's your view on companies that maybe won't offer that to go back to an office? I've heard a lot of channel firms now actually thinking, you mentioned you're getting to get a bigger office, and some of them are actually getting rid of their office completely. So what's your view on that? Because it's not going to work for everyone if they haven't got an office, is it?
No, I don't think it is, and I think that's the challenge. And we've seen that. We did a survey with our customers and our kind of wider audience, just to try and understand actually what's this feeling out there in terms of what people are just planning to do. And it depends on when you ask them, actually, because if you'd asked them 2 months ago, when we were in the thick of it, the answer was, I don't really know what I want to do. 4 weeks later, I'm definitely rationalising my office space. I don't need it. And then the closer you get to actually being allowed back in there, the responses shift again. But I think for those businesses that are thinking about completely losing it, it's really hard. For me, I think I would just be cautious about it. I kind of, when we talk about it in the office, I've said a number of times to my exec team, look, because we're trying to predict the landscape. Of course we are, as IT and comms businesses. We want to know what to expect, what's coming, where our revenue is going to come from, what's going to drop, what's going to go up. So my view is that I think people might make some really quick decisions in the next 6 to 12 months, but in the next 18 to 24, I think we could see it kind of fall back to physical office space. So yeah, I'm really quite cautious, and anybody that's talking around that, just got to think it through.
Yeah, I do as well, because I think there's no doubt about it. It might work. It might work for some in terms of, reduce my cost, etc. But
you might lose some people.
It's not going to work for everyone.
No.
One question I did want to ask you, Lorrin, was about how Bamboo are supporting their customers. So you must be having feedback from customers over the last 2 or 3 months that have had challenges, and some of them had success stories. So what's been the sort of like the consensus from your customers?
We've had really great feedback, but I suppose we just took the very same principle that we did with the staff, really, which was direct communications. So I took it upon myself to send out the communications to customers. So it's not come from marketing. It's no other department's been kicking that out. It's been personal messaging that I have written, and I thought that was really, really key right from day one, because we just, I had to show that actually we care. Our whole messaging has always been about caring about your business and helping you grow. So if we're not putting our hands out at that point when everybody is in dire need of some advice and guidance, some support, then we would not have been doing our jobs. So we just kind of offered support, as I said, right from day one. We predicted that there might be some customers that might just cancel their DDs, because everybody went to cost-cutting mode. So we're like, oh, crikey, the people are going to, supply chains are going to hit the supply chains, cut their DDs, and that's it. So one of the first messages that went out after we kind of said, look, we're going to home working. We did it much earlier than everybody else because we were watching what was going on globally, and we just took that call, did a really early business impact assessment and went, right, let's just let's just do it. Let's flick the switch before anyone else does it, make it work, and then we know we're good. So we did that early on, let the customer base know. And then the next one was that we're here. We're still open. We're still operating. Please, whatever you do, don't cancel your DD. If you're considering it, pick the phone up and talk to us, because we'll help you. So if we need to give you, a payment holiday, or, we need to minimize some of your costs, or you need this put in place, anything. It was pretty much anything. It was just really just come and talk to us. Please don't go dark on us, because that's the worst thing that you could do, because we could only make assumptions on that basis if you don't speak to us. And off the back of that, we've actually seen some incoming business over the last couple of months, because ultimately we went from being, as lots of IT businesses were, we went from being the pariah of the cost pool. Nobody wanted to pay for what we offer. They wanted, as much bandwidth or whatever as possible at minimal cost. And suddenly overnight you become, the trusted advisor that we've all tried to position ourselves as.
Human element comes into it then, isn't it? It's actually proper communication, where it's almost like, oh, I'm actually hearing it from a supplier proactively. And do you know what, Lorrin, I think that's great. Without calling out my supplier, I haven't heard from my IT supplier since during COVID. It's not been proactive. And I think that's appalling myself. He'll probably listen to this now. So. But I think that is bad, because I think, you're right. I think the proactive nature of having that, where people would have thought about cancelling their direct debits to sort of like get the cost off, but the communication goes down. And if you're having that communication, saying, well, look, I'd like to pay, or can I have a payment holiday, etc., at least you know where you stand. At least you know where you are. And I think, kudos to you for doing that. And, hopefully that's proved fruitful. So I think that's good advice. On that point, just that point, moving forward, will you now change your communication style to your customers because what you've learned from that?
Yes. It's a really simple answer. Yes. Yeah. I mean, there will always be email campaigns and, marketing material, and we'll do online broadcasts and social media, and the importance of social media is huge. So we're never going to lose any of that. But are we going to send out dull, not humanness, but characterless, characterless communication?
Yeah.
No, we're not. And it's quite an interesting balance for us, because one of our USPs is really that everything we do comes with a compliance wrap. So it's about making sure you always do the right thing. You can evidence that you've done the right thing. So actually, it's quite difficult to balance a compliance approach, which is very rigid, and a human kind of relationship and partnership with our clients. So, and I think, we've achieved that, but it's only been because it's been personal messaging that's mattered, and people have engaged with it in return. I think that's what I've found, because you never really know when you do it differently. Those first couple of emails, I mean, I was, before I press send, oh God, I haven't done it this way before. Am I going to do it? Okay, let's do it. And actually, it's been brilliant. And in the last few months, we started producing cyber awareness newsletters and said, look, every fortnight, we'll send you out what we've seen, what we've been told about, what we're hearing about. But if you hear anything or you get anything, let us know. Yeah. And you know what? They've started letting us know. And so now creating the cyber newsletter is easy, because actually our customers are telling us exactly what they're seeing. Would we have had that before? No. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Well, suddenly the human element's coming back, and you're actually getting real life feedback, whereas before you might not have got that. Yeah. Those faceless emails that everyone will get and just delete because they're just so boring to read. No one wants to read them anyway. That's poor marketing anyway. It's just blocking up people's inboxes. One question I wanted to ask you personally, Lorrin, about: have you found it more challenging doing what we're doing? This is the first time we've met over our video. We're over video. Have you found it more challenging doing back-to-back videos instead of actually arranging your diary around meetings and including travel time in that?
No, I've found it much easier.
Really?
I've actually, you can fit so much more into your day. I mean, for me, my commute was obviously slightly longer, and I wouldn't make it as often as a lot of people, but it's still, I mean, whilst that was good quality time for me, where I couldn't be contacted, which was ace, actually, when you look at it in contrast, in a different way, it was a waste actually of time as well. So I mean, I've done so many more meetings. Our pace of delivery across the business, whether it's product onboarding, communication with the staff, anything, has been phenomenally faster than it was before. And I think it's just because actually it's so easy to just jump on a call like this, and I love it. I do the weather person joke. You don't know what I'm wearing from the waist down. Fantastic. Do I need to know what you're wearing from the waist down? No, I do not. Do I care what kind of shoes you put on? No. Actually, it's really simple. Do I like you? Am I having a good conversation with you? And actually, is it a productive use of my time? And more often than not, the answer is yes. And do you know what? If it isn't, and you know it isn't, you can cut it off a lot quicker as well. So in a face-to-face meeting, there's all the British politeness and etiquettes of, well, let's not rush somebody out the door within 5 minutes, because that's just rude. So I think that's all of that away.
You're not rushing your video yet. I've got a couple more questions yet for Lorrin. I don't care now. But so out of all these crises, the financial crisis in 2008, obviously the COVID crisis in 2020, there's obviously opportunity out there for people as well. People are obviously struggling, but there's also opportunity. Where do you see the opportunity for bamboo coming out of this crisis?
It's not a new opportunity. I think it's just something that's slightly different to what we've been doing. So our approach in the past has always been about, look, we'll do technology workshops with our clients because we're helping them go from this place to this place, making sure they've got the right infrastructure to do that. I think it's just slightly different now in that people's scenarios will be different for the next few years. So there might be, as we said, that kind of rationalization of costs or commercial footprint, whatever it might be. So I just think it will be the same approach, slightly different products maybe. And we've kind of worked on that 3-4 months ago. We sort of looked at what would the different scenarios be. We knew 7% of our respondents in our survey said we are just going to lose all the office space. So immediately we've got a scenario to work on. Okay, well, what are those people going to need? And actually, what's going to be the outcome of COVID is, hopefully it means personal hygiene's gone that way. That would be great. But actually, does that then mean that each individual will want a technology pack that they can take with them wherever they go, in the same way that we've actually had that in our personal lives for as long as I can remember now? Why is that different when it comes to work assets and work equipment? Well, actually it's because we need to track it, and somebody might nick it or whatever it might be. So but actually, if you're focusing on personal hygiene, then do I want something that some geezer or girl, I don't know, 5 desks away from me that I see, picking their nose all the time, has been doing this? Do I want that keyboard? No, I do not. So actually, I think there'll be something in that, maybe. There's obviously all the thermal imaging products that are coming out now, and we're also doing that as well. But I think that's specific to verticals. So I think there's different opportunities. The one thing that I found quite interesting is if we go for this blended working environment, to whatever degree, there is a level of compliance. And how do you manage compliance and work performance when half of your half of your workforce might not be within your gift to control? As you say, not micromanage, but how do you know? And I think that there could be a very quick shift to outcome-based management and performance management. And what are the technology tools that exist to enable that? So, I don't know. That's kind of a really long answer to yes.
It's a really good answer, Lorrin, because I'm going to be really candid. Everyone said, "Oh yeah, I really trusted my employees," and blah blah blah. No, you didn't. No, people didn't trust their employees, because I know if I'd have given people, working from home, and lots of channel partners, people working from home on Fridays, they'd be down the pub, they're doing things, or going off and doing things, etc. Which is fine if they're actually working late, etc. But no one thought they were doing that, so that's why no one works at home, or a lot of companies didn't work at home. Now we've been forced to work from home, and most companies are thinking, yes, they're worried about the well-being and they can get their workforce up and running. How can they monitor performance effectively? And I'm not just talking cool stats and times. Is it going to just become outcome-based? Because if we're going to say, right, we trust our employees, right, and Joe Bloggs wants to mow his lawn every day at 11 o'clock, and that's what he does, but he works till 7 later, that's fine. But if he's doing that, how are we going to actually monitor him and actually make sure he's effective when maybe his manager finishes at 5:30 and he doesn't know what he's doing? So I'm interested in your view on that. Do you think it will be now, do you know what? We're going to give you the autonomy, but the autonomy on you is have you got the tools? Have you got the equipment? Do you know exactly what you're doing? Right. You're going to sort of sack yourself if you don't perform, because yes, you'll be monitored and helped. But if you're in down the road and working from your in your garden shed or whatever you're going to do, I can't monitor you.
Yeah. I think there will be a bit of that, and I think that has existed in business traditionally anyway. I mean, and we've all kind of really, if we're honest about this, you look at your sales team or you look at pooled bonus structures, and damn well when you put a pooled bonus structure in place, you're not going to manage the underperformers. The other people in the team are going to manage the underperformers. Yeah. And I think that's exactly where it will go. We're lucky it's worked for us. We were kind of outcomes based anyway. So it's about department SLAs. And I know that, I don't know, for us, our billing SLA has been absolutely knocked out of the park the last 3 months. Well, there's two ways of looking at that. One is they are super efficient at home. Well, one is what was going on in the office. But you have to ask those questions. But ultimately now, the SLA is set. And if they're failing the SLA, then there's a problem in the team. So that kind of shows you where you need to go to go and try and find out why it's not working. I think it's really doable. I don't know that necessarily is technology the answer to it. I don't think it is. I think communication is the answer to it, and engagement with the teams, and making sure that from a top-down perspective, I suppose. So you set the strategy, you set the objectives, and actually they're drilled down to a level that matters to the individual, that they understand what their contribution is towards the SLA. And actually they also understand that if they don't perform to it, what are the consequences of not performing to it?
Yeah, and I think that's key. If we're all going to say we trust our employees, I'm looking at it and thinking, well, if we trust our employees, they've got to trust that this is not me sacking you. This is not me getting you. The job is your onus. You've got to own the job. If you want the autonomy, you're going to have to take, and you want the reward, you're going to have to take the responsibility. And I find typically, and throughout channel companies, sort of the individuals don't want to take the responsibility. They actually they want the autonomy, but they're actually worried about taking the responsibility. So I will be interested in how that pans out. One further question on that: do you think I've heard about productivity going up? Bloomberg said productivity's gone up 15% throughout the channel. Da 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 da. Is that because there's no distractions? There's no pubs open. There's no restaurants open. There's no going to football matches or going to golf games or whatever it is. Do you think it's when things do open up that productivity might dip down?
Yeah, I think they probably will a little bit, because I still think there's an adjustment that's taking place. So whereas it's been expected that I can, as long as I do my job, like you said, it doesn't really matter the hours in which I do it, and that's almost been it's been a privilege that you earn as a senior member of the team by virtue of either length of service or your experience in other business, whatever it might be. It's kind of, you're gifted that as a privilege. Whereas this has turned it so that everybody's been given the same privilege. Yeah. And I think it's, because it's not quite, lockdown is not quite finished. So the temptations are not there. Yeah. But actually, you kind of think, well, you were given that privilege anyway, just with no temptations there. So you could, if you wanted to, you could have sat on your bum for 4 hours in the afternoon and nobody would know. Have you? Well, if you haven't, then you've done your job and you've hit your SLAs. If you have, then you haven't hit it, and the spotlight is going to be on you, whether it's now or 4 weeks down the line. It will be on you. But yeah, I think the trust bit is really, really important. But and again, it's funny how all the tools that we've kind of learned as senior execs. So, I know I've forgotten the name of the pyramid, but basically the team's success is built on the base layer, which is the trust. Do you trust the people that are around you, that you work with, that they will deliver? And actually, if you then layer it up, you end up with, you can achieve your objectives. That doesn't change. It just means that we're applying it right the way through the whole business structure. And the same principles apply in terms of those who don't perform.
Do you think that's going to be hard now for someone new joining? I.e., I've joined a company. I'm going to be working for Lorrin, who's my MD. She doesn't know me. I don't know if she even trusts me. She, how can you trust me? You don't even know me. It's the first time we met, Lorrin, and I'm doing the job. But I do a little Zoom call with you at 9:30. It's like, yeah, bye, Lorrin. Yeah, I'll speak to you tomorrow. You have no idea what I'm doing. How can newbies actually earn trust with senior management?
That's a really, really good question, and it's one we sort of talked about in terms of new recruits. Actually, if you, in the same respect you asked before, if you close your office and nobody has any office space, how do you deal with new recruits? I mean, what levels of engagement can you put in place for that? Because there is that bit of it, isn't there, which is the whites of the eyes sitting in front of somebody. You cannot get away from the benefits of seeing people's individual behaviors, the nuances of body language that are really, really important. So I don't know the answer to that. I don't, and at this time, I might be able to tell you, actually, we've got some new starters in September or August, end of August. So I'll come back to you and let you know. But it's an interesting question, because you're right. How do you build that trust? But is it different to when a newbie comes into the office? Because I don't know how many times I've kind of had newbies walk into the office, and I don't think that I'm a scary boss at all. I think I'm quite friendly and quite open.
That's what you think, Lorrin. That's not your style.
Exactly, yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. And I always think, the door's open. It is always open. That's how we are. If you have an issue, you come and talk to a director. You don't need to kind of pussyfoot around anything. It's okay. But I know that there's still people who have walked past my desk, with their heads down. And it's nothing to do with the individual. It's to do with the title. Yeah.
Do you think, and my last question, and again, it's a real difficult question to ask, but I am going to ask it to you. A new person comes into a company, comes into Bamboo, they're being successful, etc. They're doing really, really well, and they want to get promoted, but they haven't got that relationship with you because they haven't seen Lorrin, they haven't engaged with Lorrin that much because they've been working at home, etc. Is people going to find it now really hard to be recognized in their own company when maybe they haven't had those relationships, personal or not, to be recognized for that promotion? So they want to be that leader. They've been a sales guy or sales girl. They want to be that leader, manager, but they can't prove they're a great manager or manager of people because they're at home. How can people now be recognized?
Well, you could still prove it by achieving the SLAs that have been set either for you as an individual or at team level. I don't know that that's any different to how it's always been. And there is I used to think that, Christ, I hid behind my desk for I don't know how many years, wondering when I was going to get notice. But that's true. There is a point at which actually you recognise in yourself that it isn't on, the onus isn't on everybody else. It's a lot of it is actually on you as an individual to be seen, to make yourself seen, not be a nuisance, obviously, because that's not helpful. But if you want to progress through the ranks, if you want a career, then you can't mouse it behind the desk. You kind of have to stand it out, and you know what? That's the kind of, and if you're in a business where you can't pick the phone up, or can I have a Teams call with you, or can I do that, then I would question, are you in the right business for you?
Yeah. Brilliant, Lorrin, you've been a great guest. Thanks so much for your time. Great.
Thanks for joining us and listening to another episode of our Channel Chat podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard and are listening on iTunes, please could you give us a review and subscribe in order to get the newest episodes as soon as they're released. Otherwise, as always, we release an episode every Thursday at midday, so hopefully you can join us then.